This is Steve Tratner talking. I'm president of AHCP, and I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedules to educate yourself on ways to further help your clients protect themselves and their families. This webinar, along with several that we've done previously this year already, is in an effort to help you prepare for a changing insurance environment, one in which you'll need to establish a closer relationship with your clients, strengthen the bond so that you are their go-to resource for all their health and life insurance needs, regardless of how regulations affect their specific products and options that you present. We're especially excited for today's webinar, which promises to be brief, just like the sales and application process we'll be talking about. AHCP has partnered with eLife to bring you a simple way to cross-sell a high face value term life with every health product you sell. eLife is designed around a fully online application process with a higher placement rate than you're probably used to with other term life products. The smart strategy is to reach out to all your clients that have previously purchased any simplified issue products, such as a short-term medical plan or a critical illness plan, which will assure you of a higher placement rate. So that way you don't spend time presenting to clients who may not qualify. And today we are kicking off the eLife New Agent Quick Start Incentive Bonus. So for each policy that gets issued in your first 60 days, once you've been onboarded, you will earn an additional $60 per policy. If you happen to be contracted already prior to today, the clock starts ticking today. So you now have 60 days from today to get in all your applications and earn that bonus. Chris Snyder, CEO of eLife, and Bruce Hill, EVP of eLife, are here with us today to share more details about the product, its A-rated carriers, of which there are 3 that are participating, and also who you should probably target for optimal real-time underwriting and how simple it is to apply and get issued in about 20 minutes. So, Chris, I will turn it over to you now.
Yes, thank you, Steve. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you and all these agents today. Thank you for having us attend the meeting and go through our presentation of eLife, what we affectionately call the world's fastest life insurance policy. So a bit of an agenda about what we will cover. What is the eLife platform? It's the technology system that we use to underwrite and gather information and issue policies and get them out and get them delivered electronically to your clients. What is eLife Express? So that is the term life product that exists on the eLife platform. We'll go over the term life product, the contract itself. Who is eLife LLC? We'll spend a moment on the folks that have created eLife and our company and some information about our background. Target market, this is a very important item that we'll touch upon. Then we'll walk through an eLife sale. So we have selected screens that'll walk you through from the very beginning to the very end where the policy is issued and electronically delivered in real time to your client. We're not going to cover every single screen, but we'll give you a good flavor for what the system looks like and what the steps are. We'll do some questions and answers if we have time, and then the last thing that we'll leave you with is that if you're not already, we hope that you will go ahead and get appointed to sell eLife Express. So what is the eLife platform? It's a straight-through process. So what I mean by that is when you log in to begin a sale, you'll start a new application, and from that moment you'll be in one session on the system. You'll go the whole way through the steps, which are listed here, and you'll end up with a issued, approved policy, which is in force, and your client will have an electronic copy of it via a secure PDF, and they can print that, and they're covered. It's 15 to 20 minutes for that to take place. The steps are beginning with a quote, moving into an e-application. We get online payment information. We have them go through an e-signature, and then once that e-signature happens, it kicks off an underwriting process where we take all the information from the e-application I mentioned above, and we combine that with 6 different sources of data, 6 different databases, which is the MIB, the Motor Vehicle Records, Prescription RX, a criminal history database, consumer credit score, and an ID verification database. We take all that, combine all that information together and do the underwriting. Assuming the customer is approved, we have e-policy delivery of the eLife Express contract. And as I mentioned, this presentation talks about 20 minutes, but as we're seeing cases get written from the moment the quote is run, we're seeing some cases coming through in 15 minutes. So it's quite fast. Very thorough, but it's fast. So what is eLife Express, the contract that is sold on the platform? Before I go through, touch on some of these bullet points, I just want to point out that we have not tried to reinvent the life insurance contract or the life insurance product. What the eLife Express product is a plain, ordinary term life contract that we are all very familiar with and we've sold many times. What we've done is we've reinvented the way that applications and sales are processed using this technology platform. So the term life contract, eLife Express, is fairly simple. I will point out it's designed for generally healthy applicants. There is no impaired risk class. We know there are other programs out there in the world for folks that unfortunately might have some serious medical conditions. So that's not something that eLife is designed to cover. The face amount, the minimum is $100,000 up to a maximum of $500,000, and that is from age 18 to 70. That $500,000 face amount is available up to the maximum age of 70. I'll just point out that I don't know of any other non-medically underwritten term life products which are issued up to age 70. There might be one out there somewhere, but we haven't seen it yet. So this is a unique feature of eLife Express. There is a 10-year, a 15-year, and a 20-year term product. And of course, by doing this so quickly and going through all these steps in a straight-through process kind of fashion, you would be correct in assuming there's no medical exam. There is a thorough application instead, but no medical exam, and of course, no blood or urine tests. We mentioned again about 15 or 20 minutes from quote to in-force policy. And there are 4 rate classes: preferred best, preferred, standard, and standard smoker. The carriers that are issuing the policies, there are actually 3 of them: Pacific Guardian Life, Leaders Life, and Cincinnati Equitable. These carriers are all rated A by AM Best Company. A little bit about eLife LLC. Who are we? So we brought together a team of experts with a long-standing history in the life insurance industry and expertise in the areas that you see here, such as insurance product design and development, national marketing and distribution programs, underwriting, software development, reinsurance, and actuarial consulting and pricing. So when we bring all that together, you know, we cover all the bases and created this wonderful program. So the target market for eLife Express. There was an article a few weeks ago in one of the major insurance journals, I don't remember which, and it was a summary of a Life Insurance Marketing Research Association study LIMRA study, which they call the Consumer Life Insurance Barometer study. And it's done about every 5 years by LIMRA. And it surveys a lot of consumers about their attitudes toward life insurance and the different views and opinions and beliefs that they have about life insurance. And one of the major components of that study every 5 years is the ownership of life insurance in American households, particularly in the middle market. Surprisingly, I was surprised to see this, that the rate of ownership of life insurance has actually gone down somewhat over the past 5 years for folks in the middle market. So there's a huge opportunity out there. People in that survey, I'll share with you, they also answered questions like, yes, I need more life insurance. I don't have any. I have a little bit, but not enough. These were the attitudes that were prominent in the survey. So it's not that people don't want it or they're not interested, but my view, my personal view after 39 years in this business, is that the buying process for many, many life products is very complicated, very cumbersome, and it puts people off. One of my colleagues occasionally will refer to the life insurance business. He'll say, it's the only business I can think of where we try to make it difficult to buy our product. So we're trying to change all that. We're trying to change all that as best we can. So middle market, I've mentioned a few times, we would define that as one of the key characteristics would be household income between $50,000 and $150,000. It's always helpful, if the applicant, has financial responsibilities like a mortgage, children in the home, those kind of things. A couple of other things that would appeal to this market: no contact in the sales process. So in this day and age of COVID-19, there's absolutely the opportunity to sell this product over the phone. And of course, as we already mentioned, there's no medical person that's going to go and do a medical exam. So the customer can buy the product without visiting face-to-face with anyone. And the last thing we'll mention is that it's designed for generally healthy applicants. Now, Steve mentioned something at the beginning in his remarks at the beginning of the call, that if you have customers that have purchased a product like a critical illness or a short-term medical, you may already have a pretty good idea that their health is pretty good, and they would qualify for a life insurance policy as well. Now, a walkthrough of an eLife Express sale. So what we'll do is we'll log into the system. We'll show you the screen that you use to start the process as if you were in your eLife agent account. We'll go through the e-application process. We'll show you the payment screens, electronic signature screens, which are very simple. And we'll describe and show some things about the electronic underwriting process and the decisioning, possible outcomes when the application is decisioned. And then we'll come to the moment which we all wait for. It's the case is approved and we get to do e-policy delivery. We'll skip that screen. It's just some notes about how the training presentation is set up. Okay, so this is the screen that you would land upon once you enter your username and password. And there are a few things you can do from the landing screen as an agent. We're going to focus on this one that says click here to begin in the upper left, start new application. I'll just mention for a moment, from this screen, you can resume saved applications. If you had an app that was interrupted for some reason and you had to save it, you can come back and it'll open up to the exact spot where you left off. There are some agent reports, but today we'll focus on start new application. So in order to start a new application, the first step is to get a quote. And getting a quote involves what you would guess it involves, a basic list of simple information such as what is the state of residence of the applicant. Now, when you're in your agent account, this drop-down menu where it says California here, this menu will have all the states where you are licensed. So if you have 5 states, you'll show 5 states there. If you show a different number, there will be a different number. It will be personalized for your state licenses. Applicant's date of birth, gender, yes or no to the tobacco nicotine question. And then the last item is the selection of an anticipated rate class. Now, if we were in the live system, we would maybe click on this button that says I for information. And when we do that in the live system, we hover over it, it will open up a window that will give us a reminder list or a little set of notes which would summarize each rate class so you can estimate where you want to quote that client. I will also mention that in the live system, at the top of every screen is a link that says product guide, and you can open up from anywhere in the system. You can open up the full product guide, and it has every bit of information you could want on this product. So if you're in the middle of an app and you need to reference that, it's very easy to pull that up quickly. So from here, we'll go ahead and see hit next and see what the quotes look like. Now this screen looks busy, but it's very simple. There are face amounts shown in the left-hand column from the minimum of 100,000 up to, I'm going to click to the next screen real quick. The bottom of the grid goes up to 500,000. So it's every face amount available in $25,000 increments, and the associated premiums, which are in the 10-year, 15, and 20-year columns. So what we've done is we've given you all the quotes that could pertain to this applicant. This prevents you from having to jump back and forth and change the quote inputs to get a different price. So you can look at all 3 10, 15-year, 20-year products. You can look at all the face amounts on one screen. There are other systems where you have to hit the back button, re-enter some information, get another quote. And if you're comparing a few different ones, you kind of have to remember what the previous one said. So we just tried to make it a little bit easier to do it. At the bottom of the screen is where you would click any riders that are selected. This product, eLife Express, has 2 riders, the waiver of premium and the accidental death benefit rider. I will note, and we'll go over this again if we do additional trainings for any of you that want to go ahead and get onboarded. The waiver of premium is pre-selected. So if you don't want it for your client or they don't want it, just uncheck that box. The next screen after the quote, so we selected a face amount and a term. Now we're going to apply. So the very beginning of the application are some eligibility questions about citizenship. Now, in this example, we answered that question no. And the only reason we did that was to say, well, there's another question that'll pop up and it'll say, are you a permanent resident? You have to be either a U.S. citizen, or if not, and the second question here pops up, you have to be able to say yes to that. So either a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident, and you'll be eligible in terms of the citizenship and residency requirements. Are you currently employed? Yes, or if answered no, that person could very well still be eligible. We'll look at that on the next screen. The employment, we're not going to cover everything on this screen, but we will touch on the fact that most of the occupations shown here in this list are risky and sometimes dangerous occupation, like lumberjacks and people working with explosives and stuntman and those kind of things. Most people would check the bottom listing that says none of these occupations. but there are some shown here which are eligible for coverage, but let's take, for example, military. Folks in the military are eligible for coverage as long as they are not currently deployed in a combat zone and they do not have orders to deploy during the next 12 months. I'll give you another example. Construction worker is eligible for coverage, but not for the waiver of premium rider. So that's an overview of employment. We ask for an income range. So wherever the applicant falls on this list, you would check the appropriate circle there and keep moving. There are some questions about existing insurance, and that's on every life insurance application that I've ever seen. So this is a very common question. But the thing to remember about eLife Express and this program is that it is not something that can be used for replacement of an existing life insurance policy. So if it is, then the application would terminate at the point where the answer was given by the customer, yes, I'm intending to replace. So we're going to get into the next set of questions here on the app, but let me just take a moment and talk a little bit about pre-screening. We provide the information during training about a few different areas to pre-screen the applicant for. One was what we just talked about, is replacement of an existing life insurance policy. If that's what they really want to do, then they wouldn't be eligible for this program. And it's something you can find out fairly simply up front before you get into the system and start filling out an app. 2, their occupation, we've covered that. If they are someone who works with explosives or they're a lumberjack, or we listed some other things in there. It's good to know that before you decide which life insurance product you want to sell them. And in the case of a dangerous occupation that are listed there, it wouldn't be a good fit for eLife. There are 6 questions that we're going to look at. They're called knockout questions. So these are questions where there are 6 things about serious medical conditions and a couple of other items in the applicant's history potentially that would make them not eligible. It's always a good idea to, as you're having a discussion with the client, have a discussion with them about these 6 areas that are prominently listed in the product guide. And if they're going to say yes to one of them, like, yes, I have that serious medical condition, then you would know they're not going to be eligible for eLife. So pre-screening is a very, very important thing to do to make the best use of your time and to have a high placement rate. So back to the presentation. On this screen, this is where we get the basic information. I call it name, rank, and serial number on the applicant. So name, phone number, email address, country of birth, state of birth. Pretty straightforward things that get the application going. Address. There's a box here to click. It says secondary addressee. If the customer would like to enter another person that would be able to receive any late notices or lapse notices, important correspondence coming through the mail to the policyholder, just as a safety measure, they can add a secondary addressee that would be copied on that kind of correspondence. But it's not necessary. We won't show it today. Now this is. Before you get into the health questions, it's important that the client understands they need to be accurate and they need to be honest about their answers. So this is a statement. We won't read it today, but I'll just point out that when you're doing a live case with a real applicant, you as agent of these insurance companies are obligated to read the questions verbatim to the applicant. So now these are the 3 on this screen, 3 on the next. These are the 6 knockout questions that I mentioned, and you'll see these are about serious situations. The first one is has to do with problems around alcohol and illegal drugs, which resulted in treatment being necessary. The second one is has to do with DUIs and a high number of moving violations and car accidents and things like that. The next one has to do with criminal history. Onto the next screen, there are 3 more. This one has to do with AIDS and HIV. The next one has to do with medical procedures which have been recommended by a medical professional but not yet completed by the applicant. And then the final one is a question about cancer, heart attack, stroke, and TIA. So if the customer can say no to those 6 questions, then they can move on into the next phase of the application. So here, a couple of sliders that ask for height and weight, and then a quick question here about weight change during the past year. So once we get that in there, we move on to some additional medical questions. Now, these are not knockout questions. The customer can say yes and provide some additional information on these without getting disqualified. The first group of questions ask during the past 10 years and then get into some medical conditions. The second one here, we just happened to, on this demonstration presentation, we put a yes answer here to the heart or coronary artery disorder question. And the reason we did that is because it shows you what happens when you answer one of these questions yes. A set of drill down questions will pop onto the screen to find out more information. So yes, heart disorder. Oh, which of these conditions were you diagnosed with or treated for? And then the customer can provide more information. Now, all the medical questions on the next few screens have the potential to show a set of drill down questions like this if the applicant says yes. For this application, we are assuming that the customer said no to all the medical questions. They don't have any of those conditions, and they are going to qualify for the preferred best, and we'll show you the policy issue and how that works in a few minutes. This is an additional set of 10-year questions. These are standard questions that we've all seen on life insurance applications in the past. One thing we've tried to do a little bit differently, and we've tried to simplify, is the way the questions are structured and presented. So the agent can have a moderate number of questions per screen. There's not a lot of fine print. There's a lot of white space. The questions are short and to the point and concise. I think we've all seen life applications where the application will say, do you have or have you ever had any of the following medical conditions? And then it will list like a very, very long list of technical medical names. Some of them sound like they're in Latin, and you get the picture. We've tried to break it down and keep it very short and sweet, to the point. On the next screen, we get into some 5-year questions. I won't read them to you, but there are some 5-year questions. And then on the next screen, we get into family history and a couple of questions about the applicant's avocations, activities, hobbies, etc. So the first one is about parents or siblings having died before the age of 60. The next couple of questions are about aviation, people that fly their own a little Cessna airplane or whatever, take that up as a hobby. Also about automobile racing, skydiving. Some of these actually are able to be covered. It's just that they would not be eligible for the best rate class. Okay, so we move into the beneficiary section, which is very straightforward. The name, the social is optional, makes it a little bit easier to pay the death benefit, but it is not required to complete the application. Relationship to the insured. On this particular example, we showed that the the spouse, is listed at 75%. Sorry, I skipped ahead there. What we would need in this case is another beneficiary, say a child that would have a 25% share. In the bottom right, here's the key. If the share total is less than 100, add beneficiaries. So it always has to total up to 100. You can add secondary beneficiaries on a companion screen that we're not going through in this presentation. Social Security number for the applicant. If the applicant has a driver's license, it must be entered here on this next field. And then we set up a secret question and answer for the applicant. And this is something that they will need, because they will need to enter this in a moment when we get to the digital signature screen. In order to arrive at the digital signature screen, the customer needs to be able to put that word in, that secret word. So here, there's a list of questions. What we've chosen here is, what is the name of your first pet? And the answer is crypto. It's case sensitive, and the customer needs to be able to remember that, write it down, or remember it for the next couple of minutes. So once that's done, we get payment information. The payment information for eLife Express needs to be either a checking account or savings account, and it'll be monthly. That is the premium mode that's available on this program. So keep in mind, there's not a quarterly or semi-annual or annual payment mode available. The checking account and savings account, we choose one of those, and then we need the bank name, the routing number of the bank, and the account number that we're going to be drawing premium dollars from. And by the way, this is for the initial premium and for recurring premiums. This will be the payment method. I know there's some products out there that, you know, they get the first payment done online, but this is for all their future payments. Now, nothing will be charged to their account unless they're approved. I just want to make that clear. So once that's done, we come to the screen where you as the agent are going to get the customer ready to sign the application digitally. And there's two ways to get the customer to the right screen to do that. The one at the top of the screen, it says option 1. This is if you, the agent, are in the same location with the applicant. So you just let them use your device, okay? And you would click continue here under option 1. You're going to let them use your device. You're in the same location as they are. Or if you're not in the same location, let's say it's a phone sale, you would click the button that says send email. And the email address is going to pre-populate for the applicant's email address, because we entered it several screens back when we were getting their street address and their phone number, or we put in their email address. It's going to show here. You just click that, and instantaneously they will receive an email containing a link that will take them directly to the digital signature page where they need to enter that secret word, which was crypto. So we're going to show you, okay, here's what happens if you're in the same location with the applicant. You would let them use your device, and by clicking that button on the previous screen, now it says, hello, Clark, which is the name of the applicant. Welcome, and answer this question. So they put in the name crypto and hit login, and they are going to see the application fully completed for them to review and sign. What's happened here is this application is, this was a California case, so this is a application form filed and approved by the state of California for eLife Express. We've taken all the information that they've provided us so far, and our system has mapped it into all the right places on this application form, so that it is the legal and approved application form approved by California, and the customer can review it and sign it. Now they can scroll down it doesn't show it here in this presentation, but there are a couple of attachments to the application, like the HIPAA authorization. There's a notice of insurance information practices, which deals with, we're going to send a query to the MIB and ask for information on you, and et cetera, et cetera. They can scroll down and read all that. That's fine. Or if they would like to get right to the signature, they would just hit the start button at the top and they can start their digital signature process. Step 1 is very simple. In red, it just says type the words "I agree" in this box. That's what they need to do. Step 2, type your name exactly as it appears, Clark Kent, and then they would hit finish. Now, there are 4 different outcomes that we can talk about after this application gets submitted when they hit finish. The screen they'll see is this gear or cog. It'll be spinning on the software. Takes a moment. Actually, it takes roughly 60 seconds. And what happens is, now that we have that signature, the system is sending a query to the, in red here, you see Medical Information Bureau, Pharmacy, Database, Motor Vehicle, Criminal, Consumer Credit, ID verification, and then the outcomes are rendered by the system. One of the outcomes will be apparent, and we'll get into those in a second. There they are. I'll come back to that screen. This is the one that we all want, right? This is the one that the point of the whole eLife system is, congratulations, Clark, your policy's been issued and your life insurance is now in force. And at the bottom, you can see it says applicants click here to download their policy. It might be a little small, I don't know if you can see, but it says download your policy in the green button there. When they do that, they actually get the policy document. It's a secure PDF. In this case, in California, Pacific Guardian Life is the issuing carrier. They'll get a welcome letter and the policy. This is the cover sheet for the policy. And then the policy looks like every term life policy you've ever seen. It covers all the whys and wherefores, and all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and it's in force. Now, let me go back to what else can happen. We looked at the gray box on the left, approved as applied, instantly issued in the payments process. So that's always great when that happens. The second gray box, approved other than as applied. So you may have put in preferred best. Maybe the customer ended up with preferred through the underwriting process. So what we've done is we've built a very quick electronic amendment process so that the customer can accept the higher rate class, a somewhat higher premium, different rate class, and be presented with another one-page digital signature screen. It's just a short amendment form, and it has that same couple of boxes. They have to type in "I agree" and their name and hit enter, and that amendment form will be appended to the policy. The policy will be issued immediately. Let me just take a moment and show you that. So this is the congratulations screen. I won't read it to you, but it says, we can offer you coverage, but it's at a different rate class and a higher premium. If you want to accept, please go ahead and do that. They can actually choose from different terms and face amounts at that moment where the amendment's being done. They may not want to pay a higher premium. They may want to reduce their term or face amount or both to bring the premium dollars down into their budget again. And interestingly enough, because we underwrite for every possible face amount and term, they could buy more insurance for a longer term if they wanted. It's totally up to them at this point. So they choose at this screen, do the digital signature, and now they get that congratulations screen for their policy being issued at a different rate class and all that. Now, the fourth item in terms of the third outcome that we'll talk about is someone who's not eligible. So they've been declined, and we've tried to create a friendly message here, which says, based on the information we've received, you're not eligible to qualify for coverage under the eLife program. And then there are some cases that must go to an underwriter for review. We try to keep that to a minimum, but there are certain situations where the system cannot make a final decision on the underwriting approval, yes or no, or maybe on the rate class. We try to get those turned around within 1 to 2 business days. So when an underwriter looks at that application in the eLife system, which is the underwriter's view into these cases that need to be reviewed, when let's say they approve a case, when they do that, it goes right back into the electronic process. The notification goes out to the client by email and the agent by email to say, your case has been reviewed, it's been approved, congratulations, and to the agent or to the applicant, click this link so you can download your policy. So it doesn't go offline, it doesn't go into a lengthy delay, it just gets reviewed by a human underwriter and then pushed back into a high-speed electronic process. There is one exception to that, and I'll describe that quickly here. When we get a conflict in the report that comes back from MIB, so let's say the Medical Information Bureau has a listing for that client and it says they have a medical condition that they've indicated on a prior life or health or disability application that they did not admit to on the application for eLife Express today. That's a conflict. We're not able to decline a customer and on the spot tell them you're not eligible for this program. The industry is not allowed to do that on Medical Information Bureau data alone. So there are times when the insurance company has to mail a letter out to the customer, so U.S. Postal Service letter, explaining the situation and asking the customer to provide more information. And if they do and it's satisfactory, then they can get approved. Those we have no control over. The MIB letter goes out. Sometimes the customers answer those fairly soon. Other times they just don't answer at all. So those cases there are not a lot of them, but those cases can sit for a while. Just want to be upfront with you about that. And that's not about eLife Express. That's about every life insurance product. So that brings us to the end. Obviously, we're all ecstatic when the application results in a congratulations, Mr. Applicant, you're approved, and download your policy. But we covered those other outcomes as well. So that brings us to the end of our presentation for today. And Steve, do we have any questions that have come up, or should we open it up to questions? Do we have time?
Yes, we do, Bob. There's actually quite a few questions, and I answered most of them, but I definitely want to confirm this with you, if you don't mind. The first one was,
okay.
Does this product have living benefits? I said, yes, there is a rider for this. It pays 50% of the coverage amount up to 250K. Is that correct?
I would have to go back. I'm sorry, I don't have those exactly at my fingertips, but I'll be happy to provide that information. It does have a accelerated death benefit for terminal illness.
Yep.
There's no charge for that, and it's included in every policy.
Oh, it is included. Fantastic. Okay. Is there a client-facing side to this application, like a link I can send in an email or text them? I don't believe that there's a consumer-facing application at this time. Is that correct? It's all agent-facing?
That's correct. The agent would have to operate the system on behalf of the applicant the way we showed today.
Okay, perfect. So we actually had a couple of questions on that. One question was, how many commission levels are there? Is there room for an FMO to bring in managers and downline? Of course, since we manage that, I did respond that we do have 12 levels for that, so we can manage any kind of a hierarchy arrangement that the FMO would have in their downline. Here's another one. Is the policy convertible, and to what? And I don't think there is any conversion.
No.
Okay, great.
No, there's not a conversion.
Okay, super. Yeah, I can't imagine that a term life typically would include that anyway. There's a few more questions popping in right now. What if they want a policy sent to the consumer? How do we do that?
Well, The carriers don't provide a paper copy of the policy, but the PDF is something that applicant can print the moment they receive it, which, as we showed, it's within moments of getting approved, and it looks exactly like any policy you would get from a home office. It's not just a short little certificate or evidence of coverage. It is the actual policy.
So we could print it and mail it ourselves if we'd like, right?
If the agent wanted to, absolutely, sure. The agent could. The customer would have to, provide them with. You know what? Let me check on that. I think the customer would probably have to provide the agent with the link to the PDF or send them a copy of the PDF. Which kind of, if they're going to do that, they probably can just print it themselves. But if they gave the link to the agent could print it and mail it back to them for sure.
Okay. All right. Here's another one. Can we choose the company, or do you just get what you get? And I believe that you've got dedicated carriers for each state, right?
We do. That's a good question. The Pacific Guardian Life insurance company is headquartered in Honolulu. They gravitate over the many years to the western states. They do have some on the East Coast, the eastern part of the U.S., but they have a lot of the western states. Leaders Life and Cincinnati Equitable are both subsidiaries, A-rated subsidiaries of Michigan Farm Bureau Life. Leaders is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Cincinnati Equitable, as you might guess, is in Ohio. And they each cover states. The Leaders Life covers a lot of the southeastern United States. Ohio, Cincinnati Equitable is Ohio and several surrounding states. So we have almost a national footprint. The two states where there exists a pretty large population that we are waiting for approval, hopefully very soon, are Illinois and New Jersey. But and New York, we don't write business in New York.
No,
we probably won't for a long time. New York's difficult.
Very difficult. The last two questions are in regards to commissions and contracting. So please get a pen and I'll tell you who to call. You can call my broker support line at 877-228-8773. And we can assist you with all those questions regarding contracting and commissions. If you prefer to email me, I'll just give you my email address. It is steve@ahcpsales.com. Again, it's steve@ahcpsales.com.
Hey, Steve, a footnote to this, the answer to the contracting question.
Yep.
I just want the agents to know, when you do go through the onboarding process, you will receive email, which is a DocuSign email, electronic signature email, and you'll get one from Pacific Guardian Life. It's some paperwork to get you set up as an agent. It requires a digital signature. You'll get one that's almost identical from Leaders Life, and that will cover their sister company, Cincinnati Equitable, as well. So Pacific Guardian and Leaders will send you an email. So you're going to get two emails. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because in the past, we've had some situations where the agent did their digital signature and then looked in their inbox and said, oh, there's a message here from DocuSign about, okay, well, it must be a duplicate. I've already done it. But you actually have to do two of them, one for each of the carriers that I named.
Super. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time today.